Hey, deserving listeners, The Ultimatum. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. If you are a cast member of this show or any of the other shows that I watch, please do not take what I'm saying please take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, because I am only seeing an edit. If I actually met you, I would have a much more accurate picture of you and much more accurate things to say, and I would collaborate with you as well. So, don't listen to me, listen to your therapist. Let's watch.
I'm gonna be honest. This is how I feel. This is where I'm at. Being with Ryan, I did. We had a great experience. I feel the need to let you know that I have developed feelings throughout this experience. Over the course of us getting more comfortable with each other, I definitely caught feelings. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it certainly looked that way, but I was wondering if it was more of him thinking, well, if Ryan is like this, maybe I shouldn't be with Raya, and I shouldn't be with Ryan, but I should maybe find someone that has aspects like Ryan. But it sounds like he actually wants to, well, it's hard to say what he's saying. He might also say, but ultimately I want to be with Raya and I want to give it another shot, or I want to try to be the way I am with Ryan with you, Raya, or I don't know. Let's see what he says. Also, Ryan might not want to be with Trey. She might still want to be with James, but I could see Ryan wanting to be with Trey. But I don't know. What we saw was more of Trey catching feelings. Ryan was having a good time, but she didn't have that kind of intensity. So let's see what she says.
There are things about myself that I never really knew. I think Trey will make a great husband one day.
Yeah.
Could you imagine life with Trey?
Definitely. If you and I were to get married, I think it would be great. I think it would be fun.
It's a little bit hard to hear. I don't particularly like the idea of Ryan.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting response that Ryan had. It sounds like Ryan didn't catch feelings for Trey because she says he's going to make a great husband for someone else one day. Those are the things you say when you don't want to be with someone, but you think that they're not a bad person. And then she says, I think it'd be fun if we were married. Yeah, okay. So, yeah. Okay.
I was like, yeah, she could pull pretty much any dude here. Easily.
So all of a sudden, you've been together 7 years, and then night one of the choice, you're like, I got it. You're my girl. After 7 years, she brings you here, and it was one night. 7 years of being with her, it took a guy to say she has beautiful eyes and she's kind, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, these are good questions, but I can see it. It's not the only situation where that sort of thing happens. Like when people go to war, when they're called up into the military, it's a well-known phenomenon that suddenly people want to get married. The world changes for you, right? You might die, or you're going to be deprived of a lot of love and attachment and home, and it changes your perspective. So you could absolutely imagine this being an intense experience, right? And the prospect, I mean, that is the design of the show, I think, is for the person receiving the ultimatum to lose your partner and see them walk off with someone else. That can change you. It can affect you. And sometimes this happens where there'll be a long-term relationship and someone will be like, I'm kind of on the fence, and then you break up, and within a couple days, or maybe it takes a few weeks, the person is no longer on they're just, oh my God, no. In fact, I think they told a story like that, right? That's their whole cornerstone as to why they're on the show, is that he was on the fence, right? And they broke up for a month, and then he was like, oh my God, I need to be with her. I think that was the story. So, yeah. But you wonder if, for James, it's not a permanent feeling, that it's transient based on not wanting to lose her rather than actually wanting her, right? Those are different feelings.
His point of lying, saying that it was apparent that Roxanne does not like her boyfriend. Alex and his mom would not be making this up out of thin air.
So you're telling me that I told you word for word to your face, I don't respect Antonio?
I don't know why you keep going down that route.
Say yes or
Nope,
no.
it's my opinion.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna take a second.
Yeah, that's not a great defense that Roxanne is saying. Yeah, he never said that that's what she said. He clearly said a number of times that it's his opinion that based on all the things that she said, that she doesn't respect Antonio. So, yeah, you know, there's a lot of other things that were happening that, were good conversations. I think people are trying to be on their best behavior, but then Roxanne and was trying to be diplomatic, but then Alex and he has an odd presentation. It comes across as arrogant, but it also just comes across as it's a weird form of a robot. Like he's just like, huh. Like Roxanne would say things that were insulting to him. Things like, I don't really appreciate him as a person, as a boyfriend, as a husband, as a friend. I don't appreciate him. I don't appreciate you, you know? And he's like, like, is it obliviousness, or is he just so confident, or is he so reserved, or I don't know. It's an interesting presentation.
Love you.
Mm-hmm. Love you too. Oh, you're offended. I'm not gonna say 7 on me.
Holy shit.
Babe, I'm not gonna just say I love you too, because you said
If you don't mean it.
Not in that moment.
Okay, so yeah, it's certainly not a normal response. Yeah, if you don't mean it, then you shouldn't be expected to say it. It's okay if you don't love someone. It's a feeling. It's a thing that's in your heart. You don't have any control over it, really. But so there's been some talk about this between them, and I didn't really understand fully. If I were there and they wanted to answer questions, I would be asking them questions as to, well, because earlier he was like, I want you to say you love me, or I want, that kind of thing. And she was saying, okay, I'm going to work on that or something. Anyway, so she's there with the cat. She says, I love the cat. And then he says, who are you talking to? Because he doesn't see. And I think he's, at first, I'm guessing at first he was like, oh, did you say that to me? And she's like, no, that was like cat voice. And then he says, who are you saying that to? Because I think he lives in her world and is hanging on her every word, I think is what's happening. So he bids by saying, I love you. Now, on one hand, if he's only saying I love you because he wants to get her to say I love you back, which on paper isn't a bad thing, If I say I love you to my wife, I guess I'm not thinking this in the moment, but I am hoping that she will say it back. So that's a part of it. But if you get a lot of that kind of passive requesting from your partner, it can be frustrating, and there will be this reaction. When people are like that to me, when people are passive, it's really aggravating to me. It's like, just be straight. If he, for example, and in my office, I really try to help couples to be more straight, because there's so many messages that are happening when you're being passive. And I don't know if that's what he was doing, but if he says, I love you, and we can imagine that him being passive in a lot of ways, because he doesn't feel safe to be direct, because we could imagine him not actually being safe to be direct. So in that moment when he's saying, I love you, and if he is being passive, trying to get her to say I love you back, and she knows that, there's a lot of messages other than that, like, I am afraid of you. Even though if you're Roxanne, you might feel like, why are you afraid of me? I'm just speaking from my own personal experience. When people are passive with me, there's an accusation that you are scary, and I can't be direct with you because I know you're going to hurt me if I'm direct. So depending on the situation, I might have that reaction if someone's passive to me. I had a friend who told me about a coworker who was very passive with her. And what she would say was that he was extreme in this direction. And when they would be at work passing each other in the hallway, he would, even though there's a lot of room, he would be really getting out of the way of her and be like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting out of your way. And he, in that moment, would be communicating to her that he believes that if he doesn't do that, that she will punish him, not only because he's in her way, but if he doesn't communicate over the top that he's deferential to her, then she's going to hurt him physically or something. That's a message, right? When you're passive with someone, it's not often an intended message, but why else would someone be so passive, right? Now, for a lot of passive people, they just think everyone is dangerous, and so they're passive with everybody. But so that is one possibility, that she gets aggravated by it, and she's like, I don't want to. I feel pressured right now to say I love you. I don't want to do that. Another message is that I don't respect you enough to tell you directly. When you are, say, at a restaurant and there's a waiter coming over and you're annoyed that they haven't taken your order yet or something. Well, most people, including myself, I'm not going to be direct, right? I'm not going to, as he comes over, I'm not going to be like, hey, I'm really angry at you because I don't know him and I don't want people spitting in my food. So I'm going to be passive. I'm going to say, which is a very Seattle thing as well, but I'll just be like, are things kind of busy right now? Okay. Or, oh boy, I'm hungry. I'm so glad you're here, or something. I don't know what I'd say, but honestly, in my old age, I get pretty direct with people. But you know what I'm saying. So when you do that with your partner, you're passive with your partner. There is a message that. So if someone's passive with me, there's a message that I am no different than a waiter, than a random person on the street, because you don't trust me, even though we have a relationship, or you don't think of me as being close, You don't think of me as being worthy of being honest with me and just saying straight up, right? So even though those aren't necessarily intended. Now, so if he was doing that, then, and he has a track record of doing that, even, and specifically with this question, or with this, passive request, I love you, maybe she had a reaction for that, but you'd hope there'd be a different reaction than what she said. There's also a possibility that she's just a jerk face. And this is part of that dynamic that I was hypothesizing about a while ago, where there's definitely a power differential in this relationship, and she wants it to stay that way. And she needs him to be the puppy dog, asking for things, and it might even be subconscious for her that this is some emotional need for her that she doesn't really understand. She just knows that she doesn't want to give up power because of her own traumas. I don't know. Or another option is that she, upon re-engaging with him, felt like it was great to see him, and felt like maybe I do love him, and sort of overcommitted in that way. And then now that they're settling in, she's realizing, no, I don't really love him, and but she doesn't know how to say it, or doesn't know it herself, or something. There's a lot of possibilities, but it's pretty odd. Her and Alex have some really interesting ways of communicating. that and Antonio does too, actually. So, yeah, I'm guessing there's a lot of people that don't like Roxanne. There's always a villain in every season, and I'm guessing it's Roxanne and Alex, honestly, right? That's probably it.
Antonio, in that moment, I wasn't thinking.
Don't get mad at me for feeling some kind of way that you didn't want to say that you love me too. That's all right, cool.
You said love you, and I was like, huh?
I don't know why I'm making you upset.
I'm not upset.
Okay.
So her story or defense is, you just said I love you, and I was like, huh? Wow. I wonder if her complaints about Alex when she was talking to Kat were projections of her own unwanted aspects of self. You know, the arrogance, the lying, because that's kind of shady that you would say that in that moment. It'd be perfectly fine if she wanted to say what she was saying earlier, just like, I don't really feel it. I have a value, that a principle that I follow, that I only say it when I feel it. And I'm just not feeling it right now with you. I'm sorry. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. That'd be okay. If that would make sense to me, it'd be different. But you know, I think he would agree. He's like, hey, you know, don't make excuses. If you don't feel it, you don't feel it. So that'd be okay. But then these obscuring things that she's saying, like, maybe I didn't catch. Let's rewind that.
Not in that moment,
Okay, that's fine.
Antonio. In that moment, I wasn't thinking.
Don't get mad at me for feeling some kind of way that you didn't want to say that you love me too. That's all right, cool.
You said love you, and I was like, huh?
I don't know why I'm making you upset.
I'm not upset.
Okay.
Are you okay?
And I wonder if this is a pattern. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they've been together for 4 years. It would be weird if after 4 years they would have an interaction that was brand new in style. And I don't know, there's a possibility that it is this power differential. And then when he starts to pull away, that's when she starts to scramble to get it back or something. There's not a lot of data along those lines, but it would be an hypothesis that I would explore over weeks if they were to work with me, or a couple like this were to work with me.
I think of every way that I can express to you what you mean to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that that's not your love language, but I'm realizing that I just need to hear how you feel about me. Whether it's good or bad, I just need to hear it.
You want to come sit down?
Yeah, I can sit down.
It's interesting, the parallels between this couple and Alex and Kat. I didn't show it, but Kat was saying the same thing to Alex. And Alex was kind of struggling with that. He's like, well, it's not really my love language to say words of affection. And the way that Alex was talking, it was very self-centered. The whole concept of love language is not necessarily scientifically founded, but it's not a bad thing to think about, to notice that there are different ways, perhaps, that people might communicate their love, and different ways that they might want to receive love, right? And the principle is that you get to know your own love language and try to communicate to your partner. By the way, when I do this, it's me expressing love to you, and you might not know that because you don't see expression of love as that sort of thing. So I want you to know that I love you when I do those things. I want you to know. Another principle is that when your partner is trying to express love to you and they're doing so in a way that you're not used to, it's helpful to note that and to not consider there's only one way to express love. Another principle, and I don't know if this is in the book, in the literature on love languages, this is just how I and other couples therapists will think about this sort of thing. And I don't know if we always think about love language as more general communication about affection and love. But another principle is that when you have a partner that wants a particular love language from, if my wife wants a particular love language from me that isn't natural for me, then I should heavily consider trying to adopt that love language. So the way that Alex was thinking about love language was like, well, that's not my love language. But that's not the principle. The principle is you work together collaboratively, and you might have to make some adjustments, not only in how you accept love from someone because you're respectful of their love language that they prefer to express. So you have to adjust your reception of love, but you also might have to adjust your transmission of love so that the other person is satisfied and receives that. It's a need, right? It's something that Kat was expressing that she needs. She needs to feel close. She needs words of affirmation. She needs him to be more open and to talk about what he's going through, right? And, the way that Alex is, it's not pathological, I don't think. Maybe with another person like him, he would fare better. Maybe not Roxanne, but, someone else. It could just be a difference, or it could be something pathological that he's really struggling with, Alex, but I can't really tell. I wouldn't be surprised, but I can't really tell. It could just be the way that he is. So anyway, the parallels here that Antonio, is in a very mature way asking for what he wants. And he even said, look, even if you think bad things, I just want to know, because if I don't hear anything, I'm guessing what he's thinking is there's no relationship here. I don't feel like we have ground to I don't have ground to stand on. Even if you don't love me, I'd like to know, because I want to know where I stand, and also want to get to know you, that kind of thing.
I feel like make you feel better.
What?
My feet in your lap. Oh, you usually laugh.
I feel like I'm not good enough for you. I feel like I have to push you to tell me that you care about me or that you love me. I just feel like there's like a different level of respect that we have for each other.
Okay. Yeah, he's, I think, being very upfront and healthy here for himself and her. Imagine if your partner said this to you, that the response that you would have. If my wife said this to me, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. What did I do? You're everything to me. I love you. What happened? Where did I go wrong? Let me make it up to you. It would instill a lot of fear in me, because what happened? How did that happen? That's, one of my prime directives is to make you feel loved and to have you know how I feel about you, and to not be hurt by me out of selfishness. I don't want you to feel that, so that you would move away from me. There would be a reaction. Let's see what Roxanne does.
Like, you like sports.
Yes.
There's different leagues, correct?
I just feel like there's like a different level of respect that we have for each other.
Like, you like sports.
Yes.
There's different leagues, correct?
Ouch. You're a pro and I'm an amateur?
Nope, that's not what I'm fucking saying.
You're an Olympian and I'm a
I'm
pro?
saying, don't hate on me for
I'm not hating on you.
saying, like, I'm in a different era of my.
Wow. That's so. I mean, okay, you're in a different era, but why leagues? I mean, maybe she's just saying, look, you have the NFC and the AFC. They're just different eras. But yeah, and he exhibits a fair amount of emotional intelligence, actually. I think he has that ability more than she does in these conversations anyway. And she says, sports, different leagues. And he goes, ouch. And it's one of the healthiest responses you can ever say in that situation. Most people will not admit that they're hurt, right? They will go on the attack or defense, or they'll stand up and walk away, or they go, what? You think you're better? It's just like, oof, that hurt. That's just acknowledging, like, my feelings hurt, which is at the core of, I'm sure, what happened for him. And now she's trying to walk it back. But again, remember my role-played response that I had. Now, if she doesn't love him, then that's not her fault. Just admit it, And if this has been their relationship for 4 years, what's going on? I wonder what kind of thing locks them in, especially her, because what is it that she's looking for? And does she need, like I've been saying, I wonder if she needs him to be off kilter because she wants to be in control, because if she's not in control, she feels very unsafe and very insecure, that she could literally believe that in order for her to get her attachment needs met, she needs to be in control. And the method of control is to keep him off kilter and to make him feel like he's lesser and to believe that he's lesser. Because if he's lesser, then he'll need me and he won't ever leave me. There are a lot of relationships that are like that. I can't tell if that's what this is, or if she just doesn't love him and she's about to leave him. But if she is this and she doesn't leave him, then that's what's going on. Like if you're not into him and you don't respect him, and then when he says things like, I feel like you don't love me or you don't want to be with me, and that, worries me or hurts me. And then she's just like, well, have you heard of different leagues? And then she stays with him. That's the key. If she's about to leave him, okay, she's realized that they're in different eras or even different leagues, whatever. But if she stays with him, then something else is going on.
I want kids. No. You make me feel like, Roxanne, you don't tell me you love me. I'm like, well, I love you, baby. But my mind is in such a different place.
Well, forgive me for trying as hard as I.
Her mind is in a different place. So every once in a while, especially when it's just the two, you're not at work. I think they had date night or something. She seems a little intoxicated, I think. I don't know that. And he says, I love you, and your mind is in a different place. I mean, if that's true, if it's like, well, I'm pretty plagued with work right now, but that doesn't mean that you don't have access to the brain power to hear someone and say, hey, I love you too. Especially if you have that love. She just said, well, I do love you. There's a pattern, I don't know, and some of you have probably been a victim of this, where it's a gaslighting effect. That word is overused on the internet, but where there are clear indications of one thing, and then as you start to pull away, well, the visual metaphor I'm using is, as Antonio, is being neglected and hurt, and he's maybe in a rare moment, especially during this process, where he's actually starting to assert himself a little bit and saying, hey, if this isn't going to work, or I don't like what's happening, and he's pulling away. And then she obscures it. She's like, well, hey, when you say I love you, I was like, huh? So what's going on? Hey, I love you. And you see the strained way that she said it. I mean, again, using myself, if my wife came to me and said, I feel like you don't love me, or I wonder if you love me, I mean, the amount of work that I would put into making sure that was corrected for in the moment and in subsequent moments for the next few months, I'd just be like, so just checking in, isn't it? Because I don't want to lose her, and I also have empathy. I don't want her to think that. And even if I don't think it was my fault necessarily, I can fix that. It's something that I should fix. But just think about her response. Again, if she's going to leave, then she's going to leave. And, then I guess if she does leave soon, then, okay, she's kind of in that limbo zone where she doesn't really know she wants to leave, but she wants to leave. Or if she stays, then, like I said, it means something else.
Roxanne is saying shit she doesn't mean because she doesn't want to acknowledge my feelings. And that's where we're at right now. She doesn't think that she's out of my league. Maybe she fucking does. I don't know.
So yeah, her response upon learning that her loved one, her partner, doesn't know if she loves him, her response was evasive, was kind of confusing and lackluster. And then she just kind of shut down. I don't know what was going on. I'm sure she would hate to have this said about her, but she has a lot more in common with Alex than she realizes. All right, well, if you didn't know, we have merch, and the link should be below. T-shirts, stickers, posters, other kinds of stuff. And we're frequently coming out with new merch and whatnot. Our shirt where it says, take care of yourself, I wear that sometimes. Now, I get away with it, I guess, in my mind because my wife designed it. And so I feel like I'm not, and it doesn't say my name or anything. It just says the quote. And I can't tell you how many comments I get when I wear that shirt. People like of all walks and walks of life and ages and genders will just look over and they'll say, "That's a nice shirt." Yeah, that's a nice message. And I just, if I think to my wife or something, I'll be like, she made the shirt, and then my wife, if she feels up for it, she'll be like, well, it's his quote from his show. Anyway, and I just think it's a great design. It just looks great. So merch. Also, I'm on Cameo if you're interested in having a birthday shout out, or even just for yourself. Sometimes I respect people that get a cameo for them. There's like, hey, it's my birthday today. Kirk, do a cameo for me. It's fine, right? So only if you're up for it, of course. And everyone, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.